everyone, it's attorney Michael Mills again, Mr. Hard Work, Hard and Hustle, and we're back again with episode 3 of I Got Time Today. And I have my homie Raj with me, here to grill me and ask me a whole bunch of questions, as usual. Raj, say what's up to everyone.
What's up, everybody? And thank you so much, Michael. And you look very energetic and you look way more relaxed today. What's, back from the anniversary vacation?
Yeah. Went over to Cabo
Wow.
San Lucas for a few days to celebrate the 26-year anniversary with the wifey. Had a great time, drank a lot of tequila, and just laid by the beach all day. So I can't complain.
Wonderful, wonderful. And again, I wish you all continued harmony and happiness together for another, 100 years to come.
Okay, I'll take 100 years. I was gonna say another 26 years, but hey, I'll take 100.
A well deserved break, no doubt. So, for those who don't know, in our last two episodes, we talked about Injury Assistance Network and Injury Assistance Law Firm. But Michael has recently launched something in a totally different domain, and that is debt assistance.
Yeah.
And the name of the firm is Debt Assistance Law Firm, or the way Michael has given such cool short names, Ian, IALF, and so this debt assistance law firm is called DALF. So now I know about it, but I'm betting a lot of people hearing this have no clue what's coming. So, Michael, why don't we talk about that today?
Sounds like a plan.
So, Michael, I'll have questions, the tough ones. So, you ready?
Hey, bring it on. We'll see what happens. Let's go.
Sure. So, let's start very simple, Michael. Think I'm someone who has no clue about legal jargon. So,
Okay.
what exactly is this term called bankruptcy? Can you please explain it to me and the whole audience here?
Okay, well, bankruptcy is kind of like a reset for uh, individuals, for companies. It could allow the companies to reorganize so that if they're not able to pay or take care of their debts, they can reorganize, sell some assets, and then get back in a position where they can then continue with running their business more
Hmm.
efficiently. Um,
Okay.
what I primarily focus on is Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is personal bankruptcy for individuals that need to hit that reset button. Sometimes they may have uh, too much debt, too much credit card debt, medical debt, um, you know, um, financial loans. As long as it's not tax or federal government related, you can pretty much get just about everything wiped out, except for, like I
Mhm.
said, taxes and federal loans, like student loans.
Okay. So, thank you so much for the explanation, Michael. Now, we talk about consequences. That's where people get nervous. So, what are the consequences that people are going to come across or face, after filing bankruptcy, particularly Chapter 7?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that people are nervous about, a little antsy about.
Right.
A lot of people think that they're going to lose their home or lose their cars.
Mhm.
And actually, especially here in Florida, we have a homestead exemption here in Florida, so you don't lose your home. Um, as far as your vehicles, you can keep your vehicle as long as you continue to pay for your vehicle. The
Okay.
things uh, that will affect you, the consequences, as you were saying, is primarily you're gonna take a really big hit on your credit report, your credit standing. Um,
Okay.
most bankruptcies will stay on your credit for a minimum of 10 years. So
10
that
years.
10 years, yes. So that means if you're looking to, buy another house or buy a car or any major purchases, any minor purchases, especially the first 3 years out of bankruptcy, it's going to be very difficult because they look at that as a big red flag when they're trying to make a determination as to whether to extend credit to you or not.
Hindrance. Okay.
The other concern that folks, or the consequences that you may have, is that you can end up losing non-essential items.
Okay.
So if you have two vehicles and you only really need one, then it's potential that the court can make you sell that second vehicle to pay some of your debt back, because it's not essential to you being able to go to work, or if you just have like a weekend vehicle, you can't have that and be in bankruptcy. They're going to make you sell that so that you can pay off your debtors, pay off your
Right.
creditors. The trustee will most certainly want to make sure that you qualify to even file bankruptcy in the first place. They do that by doing the means test, and that's just something that we get into as each individual is actually going through the process of bankruptcy.
Okay, so I have one question here about, you said that if you have two cars. Now let's say I have two cars, but the other car is for, let's say, my kid, who he or she is a minor, and I'm using that to, like, take them to school or something or the other, what have you, so can, in that case, like, am I given a chance to explain that, okay, why is there a second vehicle, or,
Yeah,
can you explain?
yeah, you definitely would. Like I said, it's for non-essential things. So if you can show that that second vehicle is essential, you have a minor kid that uses it to drive him or herself to work or to school, because you work during the hours that they have to go, then that becomes essential. More of what I was talking about is if an individual has, they have a weekend vehicle, or if they have, investment property. Investment property, you don't get to keep your investment property if you're filing for
Oh,
bankruptcy. The homestead exemption only applies to your primary place of residence.
okay, okay. So now that I know bankruptcy means you're legally saying I can't pay, but why is it actually called Chapter 7? Like, are there Chapter 6 and Chapter 8 out there? And why particularly Chapter 7? Can you please
Uh,
give a
sure.
little more details on this?
Well, it's just the way that the federal government writes their laws, and for bankruptcy, there's a chapter 7, there's chapter 11, 13, and some other chapters as well. But like I said, I
Okay.
primarily focus on chapter 7, so I'm not doing chapter 11, which is the kind of chapter 11 is for companies, businesses. So is chapter 13, is the reorganization for businesses, is chapter 13. I don't really handle those. I'm focusing primarily on chapter 7. I've been doing personal injury for the majority of my legal career. I found that chapter 7 is the best way for me to add that help to my clients that are in financial distress, um,
Right.
and still do it within my means, within my knowledge of the bankruptcy world.
So is it kind of a natural discourse that, okay, personal injury for individuals, like, since personal injury, it means that, literally. So is it kind of a natural discourse that, okay, since people who are not able to do things in a personal injury, they kind of file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, or have you seen a trend or data which shows that, okay, people who have been in an accident or maybe a grave accident have filed or do file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Is there any trend or is there any data to
Um,
support that?
Not that I can tell, not from a personal injury standpoint that I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed. Typically, if you're my client, I'm going to make sure that all of your medical bills relating to the injury that you
Mm-hmm.
suffered as a result and what actually brought you to me, I'm going to make sure that all of those bills are taken care of. If we have to negotiate them to whatever amount that allows your bills to be taken care of, and for you to still walk away with a substantial amount in your pocket, that's what we're going to do. So it's not so much in regards to the personal injury. It's more so, with the current state of the economy, uh, it's trending that more and more people are beginning to file for bankruptcy, and I just saw it as a way that I can help those individuals, because you don't have to be involved in a car accident to go through financial difficulties.
Right. So, why is this, as you just mentioned, Michael, that there is kind of an upward trend of people filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy? What exactly do you think are the reasons that's leading to that? And how exactly is that going to affect the American economy? Like, can you throw some light on it?
Well, I'm not an economist, Raj, but based on the last bankruptcy conference that I attended, there was
Mm-hmm.
an actual economist there, and he brought out the charts which was showing that bankruptcies, Americans filing bankruptcies was on a incline, a steady incline. He related some of that to the fact that AI has been introduced, and so a lot of jobs which
Oh,
were, you know,
done
previously
by human.
being handled by individuals, now with the use of AI, a lot of those
Human intervention has become less, and
yeah, pretty much companies have found that they can get a lot more done with the use of AI without having an actual person there. And due to that, you know, we're going to see an increase in the unemployment market. And if people lose their jobs, then they tend to become financially distressed. That
true.
there are things that are going on here based on the tariffs and everything else, where just everything is inflation. Everything is costed more, and when things cost more, and the employment rate is where it is, or is increasing, or the unemployment rate is where it is, or begins to increase, folks then start using their credit cards more. And when you use your credit cards more, you know, the cycle starts where they use their credit cards, they can't pay them down, and then before they know it, it's kind of out of control, and they have no means by which they can pay back that debt. Once it gets there, the phone calls start, and so on and so forth, and they're just left in a position where you know they have to either figure some way out, sell a kidney, do something to get these creditors
Mhm.
off their back. The other thing is sometimes the unplanned happens. There's a medical sickness, or a medical illness that happens. You end up in the hospital. I went to the hospital sometime last year for I think I had like a sinus infection or something, and they had to run CT of my head. And I got a
Mhm.
$4,000 medical bill, and it was
Really?
$4,000 for 2 hours in the ER, and they didn't actually even treat it, right? And so fortunately, I have the means by which I can pay that off, but a lot of folks don't. And when that happens, and I had health insurance. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I had health insurance, and I still got a bill for 4,000. I don't know what the health insurance companies pay, but they didn't pay hardly anything. And if I'm in that position, I know many other people can be in that position and may not have the means or not even have the health insurance by which they can rely on to pay off those medical bills, those unforeseen medical bills, and that can also put them in a financial distressful situation.
And yeah, someday we gotta do an episode on Michael and his beef with insurance companies.
And
Soon
I'm
in a
ready for that
podcast.
any day. Any day we can talk about my
Sure.
problems with insurance companies, but not today, unfortunately.
Sure, definitely. Today it's about Chapter 7 bankruptcy, debt assistance law firm. So yeah, continuing to the next question, Michael. So that's the theory, but how does it play out in real life? Like how exactly does it affect someone in a real life? Again, you talked about it a bit, but can you talk about this in a little more details? Because see, sometimes a lot of people in the podcast or people who are listening to the podcast may be like, okay, yeah, we just talked about it. But understand, folks, there would be people who would be going through this and they would be facing many issues and they want answers to all of that in details, in bits and pieces. So we got to make sure that those people have answers. And that is one of the reasons why Michael has started this podcast, so that those people, it reaches the people at the end of the spectrum and they actually get solutions. So,
Yeah.
yes, Michael, please.
So, as far as the actual process of bankruptcy, especially Chapter 7, because that's what I focus on, like I said, it's a really simple process, especially with the technology and the platforms that we have available in this day and age. A lot of times you don't even have to come into the office. You
Okay.
really can just call in. I'll quote you the price based on what it is you're looking to do, or run the means test. Make sure that you qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and then that point, um, I will send you an email, open up a client portal, and from that client portal, you're able to upload all of your bills or correspondence, so that we have an idea of what type of financial distress that you're going through. We'll
Okay.
get permission to actually pull your credit report, and with the platform that I use, it will actually put the information from your credit report into the documents that we need to file the petition. So we make it really, really simple. The process takes probably about 2 to 3 months, um, and we can do it relatively quickly, and get you discharged. You'll have to take a debtor's class, so that it kind of gives you information about, so that you don't get back in this position again. And then after your 341 meeting, you'll have to take another class. It's a financial management class, that you have to take within 60 days after your petition is discharged, or your bankruptcy is discharged. And that's it. It's a process. It can be stressful, but we aim to make it as minimally stressful as possible.
So, where do people get these classes? Like, are you providing those classes, or do we have institutions, private or
Yeah,
government?
I,
Tell us about that.
yeah, sure. Basically, this is a class that is put on by a third party. We'll send you the link, for you to be able to sign up and take the class. I think it's about $20 or so to take the class. Um, Along with that's one of the things, one of the costs that you'll have to incur, is the cost for the class, the cost for filing the bankruptcy, which is $338. You have to pay that, and then along with my fee, well, which is only $2,500 for Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Okay, okay. And so let's say the people who are calling him or her, like let's say credit card company, or the debtors that are there, or so. whatever the people. So does he or she stop getting phone calls or those calls from debtors, uh,
Yeah.
like right after connecting with you, or that stops, or that does not happen, or how are they notified, or do you, as an attorney or as a firm, intimate them, okay, that this person, Mr. X or Mrs. X, has filed for a bankruptcy and you cannot call them up, or this and that? How
So
does this work out? Can you please
yeah.
explain the whole
So
scenario?
I don't have that power. Who does have
No,
the
I'm just
power is the federal court. And so once your
okay.
petition for bankruptcy is filed, there's a stay that's issued by the federal court that
Mhm.
you know then stops those phone calls from coming if there's any proceedings, like if a credit card company has sued you in court, in
Mhm.
circuit court or civil court, that stay stops them from proceeding with that civil action for that credit card company.
And there are definitely chances that the petition of filing a bankruptcy may get declined as well. So, what are the, yeah, please go ahead. You were saying something,
Yeah,
and then I'll,
there is a chance, but it's not. It's not. It's a very minor chance because one of the things that we do is called a means test, and we do that right off the bat to make sure that you qualify to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy in the first place. It's based on the amount of money that you make, the amount of assets that you have, and the number of people that are in your household. And if you fall within those lines, then you qualify to file for bankruptcy. And if you do, then usually there's not an issue with moving forward.
so when you say, do you have a statistics that, okay, these percentage of cases get declined, and like, so what's the general trend? Like, is
I
it
mean,
ninety percent, 95%?
I don't have any statistics on that. I can just tell you
Mm-hmm.
that that's the main reason for doing the means test is to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you qualify for to be able to move forward with Chapter 7 bankruptcy in the first place. So if you pass the means test, then you qualify, and that's when I say it's a pretty simple process, that's exactly what I mean. You pass the means test, you qualify for the bankruptcy, and then we move forward. Again, your creditor, the list of your creditors. Again, like I said, we get that information off of your credit report, which we also pull through the system, and makes it super, super, super easy.
So, as you said earlier, that it's kind of a reset button. So, for how long is this going to haunt them? Or, as you were saying, that you want to buy something, they check your history, credit report,
Well,
and so on
yeah.
and so forth. So,
If you want
for
to
how
do
long?
anything these days, they check your credit report. Getting car insurance, they look at your credit report. Renting an apartment or a house, they look at your credit report. So, I mean, your credit is plays an essential role in you being able to do just about anything these days. So you have to keep in mind that with a bankruptcy on your credit report, especially for those first 3 to 5 years, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get any sort of credit. It's going to be tough when you are looking to get car insurance, rent a place. Um, you know, so you want to keep those things in mind. If you already have a place, you might want to make sure that you stay there and you pay your rent or your
Mhm.
mortgage on time, so that you don't have any issues where you would have to move out and find a new place. Um, so yeah, the biggest hurdle is the damage that it does to your credit report. But over time, it does get better. Um, Although it'll be on your credit report for 10 years, it doesn't affect you the same for the full 10 years. Like I said, after between 3 to 5 years, things start getting better. After filing bankruptcy, if you get a secured credit card, you want to make sure that you're paying that on time. You want to make sure that you're keeping your debt to credit line ratio at a maximum of 30% of your credit limit. There's just a whole bunch of different things that you want to do during that time when you're trying to rebuild your credit.
Okay, okay. So remember, folks, 30% is the limit. So make sure you stay within that. And yeah,
Yeah,
when
stay
you say
below 30% of your credit limit.
exactly. Uh, Now, when you are talking about a means test, what are the criterias? Like, can you tell us more about means test, Michael? Again, I want to make sure that it's broken down to each and every bits and pieces so that people are aware that, okay, yeah, this is what they're going to have. Like, let's say someone wants to come to you tomorrow. So, what exactly would be the kind of questions or would be the kind of documents that they would need for a means test?
So there are no documents that you need for the means test. It's just a simple
Mhm.
questions that I'll ask regarding your income and the number of people that are in your household. And
Okay,
if you fall
that's
within the
that's it.
proper lines, yeah, you qualify.
Michael, you mentioned about the means test. So, can you please tell us what exactly is means test and what kind of questions can people expect to be, expect in the means test?
Yeah. So it's not a whole bunch of questions. It's basically
Mhm.
where I will ask what your current income has been for the last 6 months, and based on
Okay.
what that is, it's compared against what the state's median income is for the family size that you have, and if you
Okay.
fall within in that, then you qualify to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Michael, I really believe US laws, regulations are rock solid.
Yeah.
But then you see some people who somehow play it smart and skirt around taxes. What if someone can actually pay their debts, but they still file for bankruptcy just to get ahead and protect their wealth?
Well, yeah, that is definitely something that happens, but that
Mhm.
typically happens more so with the chapters 11 and 13, where folks will either have companies or corporations that, they have gone in over their heads. They they themselves have personal wealth still, but they don't want to put that towards the business, and so
Okay.
they can file Chapter 13 to not have to divulge their personal wealth. With
Okay.
Chapter 7, however, you don't see that as often, especially for the folks that I'm looking to help. It's mainly folks that are in a tricky situation, a tough financial place, and looking for some relief, looking for that reset, like we said earlier.
Okay. Okay. Now, if someone files for bankruptcy once, how does that affect their financial future? And one more question I would like to add to this is, can someone who has filed for bankruptcy once file for bankruptcy again? And if it's a yes, what's the frequency? What's the time? Like, what's the time gap between both of them?
All right. Well, like I said, how bankruptcy affects your financial path in the future is primarily due to uh, your credit report and how it affects your credit report, which slows your ability to amass credit, which is a good thing for someone that's just coming out of bankruptcy. You don't want to end up right back into a whole bunch of debt. So you're going to have a low credit score, and if you have a low credit score, that's a sign to those creditors that you're not a safe bet for them to lend you their money, and so that keeps
Okay.
your financial situation within a reasonable degree that by which you can handle it, and so you're less likely to have to file it again. And hopefully, once you are back into a situation where your credit score has rebounded, you would have used the information that you learned in your financial management class after getting your debt discharge, to make sure that you don't find yourself back in that situation. If, however, you do, you have to wait a minimum of 8 years before you can file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy again.
Okay. 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 Now I have a funny question.
Is it
How
really
many?
funny, or is it just you think it's funny? I know how you are, Raj.
I Yeah. So, have you come across someone who has like every 8 years they've filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and that's how they've lived their whole life? Like
I
after attaining wealth,
yeah,
right?
I have not come across that. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't see that would be a good way to live your life financially, because you never get ahead, especially after filing for bankruptcy the second time. Like I said, even though you can file every 8 years, or you can file after 8 years, it stays on your credit report for 10 years. So if you're filing again 8 years, and they're already seeing that you have a bankruptcy on your credit report from
Mhm.
9 years ago, then
Right.
that's a huge red flag, and it's
Mm.
not going to be something that you're going to be able to consistently and continuously do.
One thing I have one question. Have you come across people who have actually been bankrupt and from that standpoint they like took a lesson from it and became really successful?
Um,
We will talk about that,
yeah,
but have you met someone personally like who has hit rock bottom and then like boom?
I mean, yeah, it happens. It definitely happens. I mean, just because you're in a financial rock between a financial rock and a hard place, as they say, where you're required to, file bankruptcy to hit that restart, doesn't mean that can prevent you from, ultimately becoming successful, even uber successful. As we know, there's individuals that have filed multiple bankruptcies and still go on to become very successful.
Yeah.
So, just because you file bankruptcy doesn't prevent you from amassing wealth in the future.
Now, how can someone rebuild their credit after filing bankruptcy? Can you throw some light on it?
Yeah, it's a long, slow process. You definitely want to start by getting whatever creditors you can to agree to let you have a credit card, or or some sort of personal loan, whether it be a secure. If you can apply for a secured credit card, a
Credit card?
Mastercard, or Visa card, and
Mhm.
or a secured loan where the bank knows that you have the money there, and they're pretty much just lending you money against your money, um,
Right.
and just making sure that you make those payments on time every month. Make sure that you keep the debt to credit line ratio below 30%.
30%. Okay.
Make sure that you pay all your debts, so that on time every month, every year, and as that time adds up, as it starts to build, your credit score is going to slowly increase. And the longer that you have a credit card, the better it is, right? If you only have credit lines for a very short period of time, it
Mhm.
doesn't look as good as if you've had one credit card for 5 or 10 years, and during that time you have consistently paid it on time. You've consistently kept it at that ratio that I said, the 30%. If you do that, your credit score is going to increase. What we have to think about is that your credit score is really just saying what your ability to take on additional credit is at that specific moment in time. That's why they do it every month. If you're able to pay down your credit cards 1 month, and they're all either at 30% or lower, then that increases your credit score, because
Right.
now the banks look at that and say, well, okay, this person has this amount of available credit. The credit utilization rate is low, and so they feel more comfortable about lending you money. They're not going to lend you money if all of the credit cards that you have are maxed out, because that shows them or tells them that this person is on the brink of not being able to pay their debt, and they're not going to lend you additional money in that situation.
Okay. Okay. So thank you so much for this information, Michael. This is definitely going to help a lot of people in rebuilding their credit and getting back, and having their heads held high in the eyes of the bank and financial institutions. Michael, all my life, I've seen people, myself included,
Hmm.
perceive bankruptcy as the dead end, like it's game over.
All right.
There are big wigs out there whose previous companies sank into bankruptcy and now they're billionaires. So basically, people are not very aware of these things, and there are so many misconceptions out there. Can you put a dead end to that?
Sure. Look, Chapter 7 bankruptcy isn't the end all be all. It's not the end of your life. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a new
Okay.
beginning. Once you file for Chapter 7 and you get your debts wiped clear, it's a new beginning for you. There's so many people that file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And just thinking about some of the personalities, the famous stars like Mike Tyson or 50 Cent or um, you know other names slip my mind, but Tony Braxton even filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. There's plenty of people, personalities, regular mom and pop folks that's filed for bankruptcy. Putting Chapter 7 aside, look at all of the companies that filed for bankruptcy. Our current president, President Trump, he filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy multiple times, and he's still a billionaire. In fact, he's the
Oh, yeah.
president. So you see that didn't stop him in the slightest. So why should you let it stop you?
Definitely. No one should stop. And yeah, chapter 7 is not a dead end. So yeah, hard work, hard and hustle. That's what gets you out of chapter 7 bankruptcy
That's
or
right.
anything or any troubles in your life. Am I right, Michael?
Absolutely. That's what you need once you get your debts discharged. You put that hard work, hard and hustle, and you'll be back at it in no time.
Absolutely. That's the best part. So, all right,
Absolutely.
Michael, time to stir the plot. I've got a stack of questions and we're going full speed. So
Okay.
be ready.
Let's go.
Bankruptcy means I'm going to lose everything I owned.
Absolutely not.
Can I file Chapter 7 twice or thrice?
2 times or 3 times you can if you wait the 8 years, but you shouldn't. So how about that? You can, but you shouldn't.
Does Chapter 7 stop foreclosure?
It's going to put a halt on the foreclosure, but in order for you to get completely out of the foreclosure, you're going to have to work with your bank to get your mortgage modified.
And I would like to give 2 cents to people out here. You can do foreclosure. 50 Cents did. He filed in 2015, got out of it by paying $22 million, and he got out of it in 2 years in 2017. So, as per Michael, that you say that it stays on your file for 10 years, He did that in 2 years' time. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if he actually files for bankruptcy, it'd still be on his credit. But
right.
I'm not sure that bankruptcy being on his credit when he has millions of dollars, it probably doesn't affect him the same way it affects us.
Right, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, mind you, he got the best album of his life in 2017, and that's how he was able to do it.
Yeah, not
Now,
everybody has $22 million that they can throw at their financial distress.
absolutely, Michael. I really hope everyone has that, and yeah, let's hope for that. Now, coming back to the next question, how much does it cost to file?
Well, I can say with me, you, I charge $2,500. It depends on the person that or the attorney that you go to, but you have to pay your lawyer fees and then the filing fee. The filing fee is $338 to file that petition, and then you have to also pay for the debtors class and the financial management class, and I think they're about 20 or 30 bucks each.
How long does this whole process take?
The process can take up to 6 months, just depending on how big your financial book is. I can say if you have a massive amount of creditors, then it's obviously going to take longer. But if you have a fairly simple financial situation with just a minimal amount of creditors, then it could be 2 3 months.
Okay, okay. Now, can I keep my credit cards after filing?
You can if you decide to pay them. The ones that
Okay.
but if you're going to pay them, then why file?
Exactly. That's the case. Now, does bankruptcy wipe out taxes?
Bankruptcy does not wipe out taxes. There's no escaping your taxes. That's the one thing that everyone has to look forward to: death and taxes.
No comments. All right. Here's a spicy one. Who really benefits from Chapter 7? The debtor or the creditors?
Oh, the debtor, of course. That's easy. The creditors are shit out of luck basically because the debtor gets out from the phone calls they get out from having to pay whatever interest has accrued on their debt, and they get the fresh start. So yeah, the debtor wins that hands down every day.
Now, one question that should concern you. Can you file without a lawyer? And if yes, what could be the dire consequences?
You can file without a lawyer. You know, you just want to make sure that you read everything, you know what you're doing, because working in federal court is a lot more stringent than even working in state courts. They absolutely play by the rules, and if you miss something or if you don't do it correctly, you can get your petition discharged and have to start all over again, and you don't want that.
Okay. Oh, so folks, I would suggest you talk to attorney Michael Mills. He's the best. Now, last one. Can I keep this private or is everyone going to get to know that yes, I filed for bankruptcy?
It's going to be public knowledge. Anything that you file in the court becomes public knowledge. Now, they would have to know to go and look. I don't think that it's published in the newspapers every day or anything like that. But if someone goes and looks up the court's docket, your information is going to be on there that you filed for bankruptcy. Additionally, it's going to be, like I said before, on your credit report. So all your creditors will know that you filed for bankruptcy as well.
Okay, okay. So that is going to be a public record.
Yes, sir.
So, Michael, my next question is if someone's drowning in debt, they
Uh,
contact you and then your team takes it from there. But here's what I really want to know before they come to you or any other attorney, what are the do's and don'ts before filing? Chapter 7 Bankruptcy.
Okay. So, I'll start with the don'ts, because they're more sexy. Okay, don't you don't want to transfer any of your assets to another family member, especially 6 months before filing for bankruptcy. When you file for bankruptcy, they do a 6 month look back to see what has been going on with you financially for the past 6 months. If they
Okay.
see anything strange where you transfer assets, or you transfer large sums of money, or you lend family members or someone else's large sums of money, or pay a large sum of money back to someone who quote unquote loaned you some money. Those are things that's going to raise a red flag with the trustee once you file for bankruptcy. So you want to just maintain everything as you had been doing for the previous 6 months before the immediate 6 months before you file bankruptcy.
Okay.
Now, when you do, you want to make sure that you are completely truthful. The do's are be completely truthful with your attorney. You want to make sure that you gather all of your financial records so that we can have a good understanding of where you are financially and what your debt situation looks like. And you just want to make sure that you continue to pay any of those any of those creditors that are going to be essential to you, so that if it's essential to you, you're going to want to keep it. You don't want to fall too far behind on those things. It's up to you whether or not you want to stop paying those creditors that you plan on getting discharged. But it's nice to know that you're going to whether you're going to qualify to file for Chapter 7 in the first place before you start doing that.
Thank you so much. Remember, everyone, the system is designed to give you a fresh start.
Yes,
But if you try to game it, it will come back to bite.
right in the butt.
So now, Michael, I'm going to ask you a very personal question.
Oh no,
You were absolutely,
how personal
you were
now?
absolutely killing it in the personal injury
Okay,
space.
all right, yeah,
Ian, injury assistance law firm,
right.
they are now trusted names. So why launch debt assistance law firm? What's the story behind this move? Like after so much time, you thought of, okay, now I gotta get into this. Why?
Well, I just saw it as a way that I can help help additional folks. Uh, I would get calls from folks asking if we did bankruptcy or if we know of people that do bankruptcy. And after doing some research, speaking with one of my good buddies, and finding out how the process works from the attorney standpoint, uh, and then I did my own studying because I had to take some CLEs to brush up on the things that we learned in law school, and I've taken about 50 hours of CLE courses at this point, just specifically in regards to bankruptcy. And between that and speaking with my buddies, I felt that it would be a good area for me to go into where I can help individuals get that fresh start that they need when they're in that dire straits financial situation, as well as, of course, be a revenue generator for myself and my practice.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And so this seemed to be like a natural flow of expansion for your law firm.
Yeah, yeah. Being honest and forthcoming, I was also talking with my buddy John, and he's been practicing bankruptcy for just about as long as I've been practicing personal injury. He also
Wow.
does personal injury now as well, but he started off doing bankruptcy, He did, chapter 13s. He did chapter 11s. He's done the big stuff. And just picking his brain and us having those conversations was another one of the factors that led me to get into doing chapter 7s as well.
Fantastic. So both of you are a dynamic duo.
Absolutely. Go back to the days of law school. He'll be on here at some point.
Wonderful. Definitely would love to catch up with him someday and, get to know and pick his head.
Pick his brain.
Boom. Michael, before we wrap it up, give our listeners one golden piece of advice if they're struggling with debt and thinking about filing for bankruptcy.
Okay. I would say don't let bankruptcy be your first option. It should definitely be your last option. If you are struggling with debt, if you have like multiple credit cards, there's things that you can do. There's tactics you can employ to pay down your debt. I tell my clients start with the smaller credit cards first, and you pay the minimum amount on all of the other credit cards, and then pay as much as you can towards that smaller credit limit, the card that has the smallest amount of debt on it. Pay it until you pay it off, and then you can systematically work your way through the other credit lines that you may have, and kind of systematically pay them off if that's at all possible. If you're too far past that being an option, then obviously there's bankruptcy. But if there's a chance that you can pay off your debt without filing for bankruptcy, if you see yourself coming into some money, or if you get a raise and you just be uber focused on reducing the amount of expenses and expenditure that you have each month. Maybe not go out to eat every day or every week, or find ways to reduce the amount that you're expending and put that savings towards paying off your debt. Over the long run, you're going to be able to systematically pay those debts down. If you have a reasonable amount, if you have blown the gasket, as they say, then bankruptcy might be your only option. But if you're not too far gone, try doing that before you go towards the option of bankruptcy.
And yes, if bankruptcy is your only option, your phone number is 800-800-988-2341. That's Debt Assistance Law Firm for you. Thank you so much, Michael. It was wonderful getting to know so much into details about Chapter 7, bankruptcy.
My pleasure.
And yes, if this podcast made a difference, send it to someone who would appreciate it. Drop your questions in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.
We'll catch you in the next episode of I Got Time Today. This is Michael Mills and Raj, and we're out.